Hey, everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
And you're watching the Patreon bonus stories.
And
Thank
you
so
are
much
our
for being
lovely,
here.
lovely
They are
Patreon
lovely.
supporters. We couldn't do any of these shows without you. There's just no way. They have to be, 4 minutes long, and then it'd be shot on a cell phone.
We're 110 episodes in. We would not have made it past, like, I don't know, 30 episodes or something.
Right.
We would have just given up and gone home.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
thank you. And maybe some of you are like, oh, if I stop giving, they will go home. All right. So this is really cool. Daniel Abt is a Formula E driver. So let's remind you guys that Formula E has only been around for 4 years. Okay, amazing. He drives 207 kilometers an hour backwards, and he breaks the world record with his 1,200 horsepower Audi RS3. It has 4 motors, 880 kilowatts, 64 kilowatt hour battery. Now,
These are 4 motors taken from a Formula E race car, which only has 1 motor.
Yeah. Now-
so this thing is insane.
Now, we're only playing a little bit of the video. You should
Right.
go watch the whole thing. But basically what you're going to see is that it's freaky. You think like you and I would get freaked out going backwards that fast.
Yeah.
I mean,
Look
he's
at
a,
his
he's a
face.
race car driver.
Yeah.
His eyes are like going a mile. Like,
Yeah, he's just like...
and he's freaked out. And I don't blame him because he's like, it feels like you're going like 6 times that speed.
Right.
Because any little tweak makes a huge difference because
Right.
cars aren't designed to go
Cars
backwards.
are not stable. That's why when you're like, I wonder why the rudder of a boat is like that, but not on a car.
Right.
It's because your car will just go, and you'll possibly flip the
and
car.
he does lose it a couple times.
Yeah.
Luckily, he didn't flip or got hurt. But
I know, but holy
and
crap.
then he
moly.
races against. I mean, not only does he break that speed record, but he does it against a car going forward. So he races against a Porsche and beats the car going backward. I mean, that's his electric car is going backwards.
Right. This is so important for electric cars, I think, because, regular people like you and I who don't care about really fancy, glitzy cars, probably will never buy one, never think about them, doesn't really matter. But there are people in the world who just consume this kind of content all the time. They just want to see the coolest, fastest cars ever. And those people, I think, have a really disproportionate impact on the car industry.
You're right.
Because, they write the sports articles and they, the car sport articles where they're like, this car's so fast, this car's so blah, blah, blah. And shaming a car like this really souped up Porsche is a good way to get people's attention and be like, oh, electric cars.
I mean, it's kind of like when you're playing golf with your buddy and you're like, what's your handicap? And, this is the handicap. You know what I'll do? I'll go backwards.
Right.
That'll give you a
Still beat
little
'em.
advantage.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, don't play golf. It's not good for the environment.
All right. So what is this commercial, Jesse? Should we just watch it?
Sure.
All right.
Hey, Mom. I'm working on a piece I think you'd like. I wasn't sure I'd find the inspiration to finish. But I found it. You once told me nature's an instrument. You said, let sound be your guide and follow the music.
Ethan!
I'm not sure I really understood back then, but I sure get it now. Life is an exploration of sound and experience. You gave me hope to keep exploring, to keep pushing. And with the right guidance, the possibilities are endless.
Wow. That's
That's
a powerful commercial.
it is powerful.
And, this was one of the Loveday commercials made for...
I don't remember this at the time.
Yeah, I
Was
mean,
it like buried in the
It
mix?
must have been buried in the mix. I think it's really powerful to have, you know, showing the possibilities of what can happen. You know, I mean, people don't think about autonomous driving until they're sitting in a car that's driving autonomously. That's the only time that it seems like people's brains, you know, when I take people for test rides, I'm like, before we get in the car, I'm like, oh yeah, and it does autopilot. And they're like, oh, autopilot. Huh. And then when we're doing it, I'm sitting there and I'm like,
Yeah, I mean, here's
feet off the pedals, hands off the wheel, like the car is driving itself. They're like, what else can this thing do? It's like, yeah, you could send your dog to pick your mother up at the airport.
I mean, here's a picture of Stevie Wonder with Franz von Holzhausen, the chief designer for Tesla, and you wonder why he's excited, because maybe Stevie's going to get to drive around for once without having to be driven around by a person.
It's really special.
Yeah. I mean, no other car company is doing that.
Right.
And here's someone who gets it. So, you know, normally we read through article after article from people who are fudding on Tesla or don't get it. Here's writer Justin Rowlett, and he's a BBC News writer. And in this article, he basically goes through all the things we've been telling you for years, which is, you know, look at this picture of New York in 1900. It was all full of horses. And now 10 years later, it's all full of cars.
Right.
Like, he basically says, you're not going to believe me, but we're all going to be being driven around in autonomous electric cars. And what struck me about this is it's BBC News.
Right.
Like, typically you hear about this from, you know, our friends over at Electric or Clean Technica or some other organization that gets it.
Right. Or like, you know, the Portland Times or something. And it's like, okay, right.
But now we're starting to see mainstream articles that are coming out that are telling you what we're telling you, which is that this technology is going to be the thing.
Right.
You remember this company, Jesse? It's just down the street from us, Boston Dynamics. They make this amazing robots. And here's the evolution kind of.
Right.
Now, if you look at this first video, it's pretty rudimentary. I mean, even the quality of the video shows you that.
Right.
Like, I mean, it's not. I mean, it's amazing, but it doesn't look like a robot that you'd have to be worried about. It's tethered.
Right.
And it's just
connected to a thing
going in a
and
circle.
it's able to jump over stuff,
Right.
but you're like, whatever.
So let's just go to the next one. And that's a leap forward.
Yes.
And-
still tethered, still big and bulky
Right.
and whatever. Yeah.
Let's go to the next one.
Okay. Wow.
Okay.
Walking around.
How about this one? Running around.
Yeah. And then finally,
And one more. How about this one? Like really, like kind of scary. Now look at this. This is from a few days ago.
right. It's
Doing parkour.
Parkour. Right. Up boxes.
No tether.
Yeah.
Really fast.
Yeah.
Stuff I can't do.
Yeah. Crap.
And-
We're, like when people when Elon's like, yeah, AI, we should be thinking about this, and people are like, AI, what? That you're gonna have a Terminator?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at that robot.
This is just 9 years.
Yeah, and it's getting faster.
It's
and
faster than. Think about
and
this,
faster.
folks. I don't think you could have a kid go from 0 to 9 years and be able to do that.
No.
I think we're actually going faster than human development now.
It's a little scary. It's actually a lot of scary.
It's a lot of scary, especially since we're so close. I feel like we're going to be the first ones to be
Well,
invaded.
I mean, you know, they send these robots off to be tested in other spots. Hopefully, they don't have brains in them.
So let's check out this video. This is from New Holland.
For more than a decade, New Holland has been pushing the boundaries of innovation in clean energy solutions. In 2007, we offered 100% biodiesel compatibility. In 2009, we created the hydrogen-powered NH2. And in 2013, we launched the first methane power. In 2017, we are continuing to work on the propane power. And today we are launching the most advanced methane power concept tractor. It's a tantalizing glimpse into the future of farming with its sleek styling, use of advanced technology, and ultra-ergonomic cab. It also reveals a connected future in which the farmer has real-time access to the key information he needs to make his decisions and to stay connected. It's all part of a bigger picture, that of the energy-independent farm, in which the farm produces not only food, but also all the biomass it needs to create the energy it consumes. The methane tractor has the same power and torque as a standard diesel equivalent and uses advanced precision land management solutions to maximize productivity and efficiency.
Set cab temperature to 18 degrees.
It's a self-sufficient future that is achievable today, and it's New Holland's advanced technology that makes this happen at every stage of the energy production cycle. Back at the farmyard, the concept tractor's advanced viewing system simplifies all operations. From the storage of biomass crops, to loading the biodigester. This installation is the key to a farm's self-sufficiency, creating energy from both biomass crops and agricultural waste. Additional food waste from supermarkets and nearby businesses can be utilized by the biodigester instead of going to landfill. After loading, the digestion process is fully automated and can be monitored by the farmer. The resulting biogases, including biomethane, are refined and compressed to produce fuel-grade biomethane for cars, trucks, and agricultural vehicles. It's all part of a virtuous cycle, which means the tractors on the farm benefit from total running cost reductions of up to 30%. An additional benefit is that they produce virtually zero CO2 emissions. Any excess methane can be injected into the local gas grid and used as domestic gas for homes and communities. And at the end of the digestion process, the byproducts of biodigestion, the solid and liquid digestate, are collected and used as natural fertilizers ahead of planting the next crops. In this way, the whole sustainable cycle starts again. The concept methane power does everything that's needed on a busy farm. At the same time, it's an integral part of the energy-independent farm system. This means lower running costs, reduced emissions, greater ease of use, and improved efficiency. New Holland, fueling innovation.
I don't know how I feel about this, Jesse.
Right, because on the one hand, you're like, it should have net zero CO2 emissions because,
Right.
you know, all of this biomass, you're
Gets recycled,
capturing
right.
the
Mhm.
methane caused by the biomass.
But then as I began to think about it, I was like, they keep talking about how your farm can be self-sufficient.
Right.
And I'm like, well, yeah, you can with solar or in wind. Instead of the incredible amount of infrastructure you'd have to build to build these methane capturing plants.
Right, big biodigester with
could just
moving
put-
parts and...
Right. And lots, I mean, that's got to be a lot of money to fix and maintain and build. And it's computerized and all these, if any of those parts stop, you've got a gas that can explode.
Right.
Also, it says that you can pump the methane back onto the grid. I don't know of any grid that would take your methane
And be like,
because-
oh, unregulated
Right.
methane that you made
Right.
from manure and corn, and sure,
Right.
We don't need to put the smell packet in it to
Right.
make it smell. I mean, it seems really complicated.
And then I'm like, but you know what? Isn't that complicated? Putting solar panels on your roof, and a net metering so that you can pump the electricity back onto the grid. That's
Right.
all. That infrastructure is already there.
Right.
And then have an electric tractor.
Right. So with roughly the same land area as your giant biodigesters, you could have a ton of solar. You could have a ton of solar panels.
Mm-hmm.
You put solar panels on your farmhouse, all that stuff. You
And
can
then
have
your
a
energy
battery
would be
pack.
free.
It would be free. And then, you know, they talk about a 30% reduction in cost with this methane
Mm-hmm.
tractor.
Are they factoring in the huge cost that must be involved in building and maintaining that plant, though?
No,
I
they're definitely not. This is your running costs.
Right.
This is after you've invested. And, you know, there's an investment in solar as well. But I think that if you had an electric tractor, your running costs would be even lower because not only do you not have to, you know, put combustible gas into it, which in this case would be free, which is great, 30% savings. But now you don't have a burning engine,
Right.
Which has parts which fail consistently.
And I do want to point this out because we hear this from a lot of people, especially when it's these companies that capture carbon, turn it into a diesel fuel, and burn it. They're like, oh, that's great. It's carbon neutral. Yes, it's carbon neutral because you grab the carbon and then you reburned it, put it back into the atmosphere. But you're forgetting one kind of key point, which is when you burned it, you're also putting particulate matter into the. You're putting NOx. You know, putting
NOx.
NOx into the air. You're putting PM 2.5s into the air. So
You're putting benzene.
Right.
Yeah, it's still polluting.
and it's still loud, and it's still an engine with thousands of moving parts. I mean, whereas an electric motor, there's no really moving parts to fix, so it lasts a lot longer. Like, there's so many advantages.
Right. I think that the running cost of a fully electric tractor would be a lot lower, especially if you took the same amount of money that you put into the biodigester, put it into some solar and batteries. I'm just saying.
Just amazing, though, that because of the momentum, you know, they're probably factoring that farmers are already thinking of tractor that goes broom. And so we have to keep our tractor going broom.
Right.
And they even pointed out in the beginning of the video, like, all of our tractors are running on some kind of combustion engine.
Right.
And it's like, really? Aren't farmers smart enough that you could switch them over to electric and they'd be, this is great. It doesn't go broom anymore.
Right.
Like,
so much fatigue. And, yeah, all sorts of stuff.
Thank you so much for being our Patreons, everybody. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, every week, looking forward to this part of the show. And I mean, I know that some of you are like, put this stuff in the news. We can't show you like New Holland's, videos and the race car stuff. Like, we'd have to like contact them, get video releases. We'd probably have to pay out the nose to actually, license the video. It doesn't work on a weekly YouTube kind of basis.
Yeah, and we're not full time.
And this is like a nice nifty little loophole where we're not actually monetizing this video on YouTube.
Right.
So we don't have to worry about that. They don't care if we're not monetizing because they just don't care.
Right.
Which is great because then we get to
share it with you.
Share it with you. Because again, we just can't put it on Tesla Time News, and we wanted to share like every week. For weeks, we had stories that we were like, man, if only we could show them this video. It'd be super cool. They'd get a lot out of it. And it's not the most exciting, like it's not the most current news, maybe, but it's really interesting and we want to tell people about it. This is what we did the Patreon bonus news story for. And, it used to be one story, now it's multiple stories. And I love it that way because we always have stuff that we're cutting and we can't fit into the news. So this is a way that we can do it and we can give more to you guys who give more.
You know what else we can give? We got these cool coasters.
Oh, yes.
And we've been holding on to these for a while because we had to build up enough of them, but now we've made enough. These are made out of recycled pallets. We have a whole video here that shows you how they're made, and you can go above and look at that. It's a new perk level. And so if you're interested, go check that out. You're going to get a lot of cool stuff for the perk level. Thank you so much for being here this week. Now you know.